Lord, help us to see you more clearly, to love you more dearly, to follow you more nearly, day by day. Amen. Please be seated. I have to tell you all, I have had kind of a downer of a day today. I started out, I had kind of a rather bad night's sleep. I had some bad dreams, which you wake up and you already start off on the wrong foot for the morning. I had somebody that I had made a promise to, and I ended up letting them down. And if you know anything about me, you know that that's something that weighs on me quite heavily. I had a friend who was going through a really hard time, and that there was just nothing I could do to make it any better. And then on top of it all, the weather was awful. It was rainy and dreary, and my umbrella outside turned inside out at least twice during the day and ended up completely wet and cold and drenched. And so it was just a real downer of a day. I was sharing that with somebody else today, and they said, well, that just sounds like a perfect first day of Lent. I believe Lent myself, touche, friend, touche, but I believe that Lent is more than just about being miserable and self-flagellating and feeling bad and down about ourselves until Easter comes 40 days from now. I believe our lives are actually far more complicated than that. And I want to suggest to you all that the season of Lent is actually a season that's rather about embracing some of the complexity of what it means to be a human being in this world. I want to start by sharing with you all a couple of past Ash Wednesday services I've had. The first, Ash Wednesday in 2015. Ash Wednesday in 2015, I had the good fortune of leading a Hispanic liturgy Ash Wednesday service with a bishop whom I shall leave nameless in order to preserve his sanctity for the moment. And we were leading the service in Spanish, and he was quite confident, although he was not conversational in Spanish, about his ability to lead the liturgy. I was already apprehensive, as I know in my own case, my own proclivity for mixing up pecado for sin with pescado for fish. Before you forgive somebody your fish, as you forgive those who fish against you. But he was quite confident and did very well right up to the point of the imposition of ashes at the Ash Wednesday service, when he confused polvo for dust with pollo. And as he anointed everyone, began to tell everyone in the congregation that you are but chicken, and to chicken you shall return. And it was probably the most lively, snickering, joyful Ash Wednesday service that I had ever participated in, and we had a wonderful time with each other. Then Ash Wednesday 2018 was a much different experience. Ash Wednesday 2018, I was getting vested and ready to lead our Ash Wednesday service. We were about 10 minutes before the service would begin, and my deacon came in and she said to me, "Have you heard the news on TV about the shooting at the school in Parkland, Florida?" That very day, that Ash Wednesday, there had been a mass shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School when 17 students and teachers were killed and another 17 were injured. I went into that Ash Wednesday service at a loss for what to do, for what to say to make sense of it all. I told everybody about what had happened, and we started by just having a moment of silence, just holding each other and There were tears, there was crying. We prayed with one another about how are we to make sense of some of the tragic brokenness in this world. It's remarkable to me to those two services, those two Ash Wednesdays, just 3 years apart, 2015 and 2018. One filled with sort of gleeful, snickering, playfulness and joy, and another one filled with tragedy and heartbreak. And it highlights for me what it means to be a human being in this world. A human being living in a world that is filled with joy and love, triumph and happiness, and also filled with heartbreak and loss and grief and pain. How are we to be people that make sense of what it's like to live in this world? How are we to be people who make sense of what it's like to be in a relationship with our God and with each other in this complex world? And I believe in my heart that this is part of why we every year take the time to carve out a space in our lives to have a season of Lent. A season where we have a discipline of saying we're going to ask questions. We're going to study. We're going to think within ourselves of what we are called to be as people in this world. Because I have to share with you all, I think we have work to do. We have work to do in this world. There is a lot of brokenness and there is a lot of pain and hardship in this world, and we are called to play a part in that. And to be clear, this is a world that Jesus knows very familiarly. I believe in my heart that the part of what the gospel story is a part of a Jesus who loves us so much that he would come and dwell with us in this world as a human being and feel those great joys. Celebrate birthdays with friends, celebrate the birth of a new child and a family, joys and surprises, the love that we share with one another, and also to dwell with the hardship of the death of someone that we hold dear, painful words that someone shared in an unkind and heated moment, the things that we shared that we regret and wish we could take back. Jesus intimately knows what it's like to be us. And that's why I believe that when he says he loves us, that he gets what it's like to be us in this complex world. And so we dwell in this season of Lent for 40 days. For 40 days where we study together with one another, where we take on disciplines. Some of us are going to give up certain things for Lent. We may fast for Lent. We may give up certain things for Lent. Some of us may take on new disciplines. You may participate in some of the Bible studies or the book studies we have going on here at St. James, or adopt a new discipline, all with the mind of trying to make sense of what it is like to be a person in this complex world. And we begin tonight. We begin tonight with this Ash Wednesday service, where in just a moment we're going to gather here. We're going to pray over the ways in which we get it wrong, in which we fall short, to help us be mindful of that so that we can try again and do better. We're going to be imposed with ashes to remind us that our lives are finite. And that whether we have 40 days left in this world or 40 years left or more in this world, that the time that we have is precious and not to be wasted. And it's a time where we can look, as the prophet Isaiah told us, to loose the bonds of injustice, to undo the thongs of the yoke, to let the oppressed go free, to break every yoke. And so starting tonight, I want to ask you all that as you figure out what disciplines you want to adopt for these next 40 days, that you think to yourself, how am I going to participate in bringing a little more love, a little more justice, a little more mercy into this world? What practice am I going to adopt this Lent so that in 40 days when we gather for Easter, and we get to all loudly proclaim that word we're not allowed to say right now. We won't say that word that we're not allowed to say for the next 40 days. But in just a moment, when we loudly proclaim it 40 days from now at Easter, we can celebrate it, knowing that it's not because our lives are simple and easy and because we have simple and easy solutions for this complex world, but because we have participated fully in a journey as the people of God, where we're asking the questions. We're asking the questions that need to be asked. We're engaging the disciplines in which we need to engage to be the people that we are called to be this day and in the days to come. Amen.